Sydney Lord Mayor Clover Moore appears likely to win a fourth term in office, while derided by critics for focusing more on cycleways, public art and climate change than the needs of business. Her vote actually increased, even more extraordinary given the introduction of new voting system that some say was designed specifically to oust Ms Moore from the Sydney CBD Council. Talking to News.Com. After she claimed victory, Ms Moore said the recent voting reforms were gerrymander and the government should immediately reverse them. Results are coming in from across the state and the indications are Mr Baird has been given a bloody nose at the ballot box, with Labor boosting its councillors, particularly in Western Sydney. The forced council mergers, described as a toxic issue by one pundit, is thought to have hurt the Liberals. Of the 129 local councils in New South Wales, the councillors, just 78 were up for re-election, with a number also handing it to their residents to elect a mayor. One of the most closely watched fights was in the city of Sydney, where the Liberals were looking to kick Lord Mayor Clover Moore out of the town hall throne she's occupied for 12 years. That won't be happening. With more than half the vote counted, Ms Moore has 61% of the vote, up from the 51% she received in 2012. The Liberals' Christine Forster, sister of former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, is in second place with 15%, while Labor's Linda Scott is on 11%. If Ms Moore sees the next 4 years through, she will become Australia's longest-serving capital city mayor. Candidates of Clover Moore's independent team are almost mirroring Ms Moore's mayoral result, polling around 60% of the votes so far, which could give the political veteran a majority of councillors in the city chamber. The Liberals are polling at 18%. Labor is on 10%. The Sydney Matters Independents and the Greens have polled 7% each. I am so proud to announce I have been re-elected Lord Mayor, and it looks like the independent team has increased its majority. #Team Club. A contentious voting reform introduced in 2014 by the Baird government meant businesses in the city got 2 votes to the residents' 1. Supporters of the change said businesses were critical to the success of the CBD and deserved a bigger say. But it's a situation that only exists in the city of Sydney, and many had interpreted it as a blatant attempt to dislodge Ms Moore. The Lord Mayor said anger at the voting reforms, along with the city government's track record, were the 2 major reasons she and her team were re-elected. People are outraged about the gerrymander that only exists in the city of Sydney, and, if it was logical business should get more votes in the city, it would have applied in Newcastle, Wollongong and Parramatta. But no, it just applied to the city of Sydney. The people of the city felt discriminated against. There's a very strong message to the Baird government to change that legislation back so we have the same vote that exists everywhere else in New South Wales, said Ms Moore. Dr Bly Grant, a senior lecturer at UTS Institute for Public Policy and Governance, told News.Com, the results in Sydney and the swing towards Ms Moore were very interesting. Ms Moore's success was due to the power of incumbency and the positive sentiment towards Clover, but the fact of the 2 votes for business has played a role as well, he said. However, Dr Grant said the fact that Ms Moore is heading to victory despite the voting changes may actually legitimise them and ensure they stay in place. Western Sydney has led a major backlash against Mr Baird, with voters booting out scores of Liberals. Blacktown, Campbelltown, Camden and Penrith have all seen the Liberals lose seats. In Blacktown, Labor went from 7 councillors to 10, the first time this has happened since 2004. The Liberals went from 7 to 5 councillors. This is the highest result we have had in more than a decade. Quote, Labour Blacktown Mayor Steve Barley told the Daily Telegraph, "Grateful to people of Western Sydney for your support for New South Wales Labour candidates today. You have sent Mr Baird a big message. #council election. People are sick of Baird ignoring Blacktown by concentrating on Parramatta." The Liberals also declared Blacktown Council not fit for the future, which people reacted against pretty angrily. Mr Barley said Labor has had an 11% swing towards it in Blacktown, the first council elections in New South Wales since Mike Baird took over as a premier in 2014. The poll proved to be an unofficial referendum on his leadership. While initially popular, the Premier has ruffled feathers with his support of the controversial Sydney pub and lockout laws, and his ban on greyhound racing. Dr Grant said the government labelled Fit for the Future council mergers could bite the coalition on the electoral bum. The Fit for the Future reform process has been one of the most contentious and expensive structural reforms probably in Australia's history. So I would expect some significant local government ramifications. Up to 2 million people, living in 49 local government areas including Newcastle, Wollongong and much of inner Sydney, have been denied a vote because their councils have either been merged or have been earmarked for amalgamation. These councils will be run by administrators dubbed Mr Baird's unelected dictators by opposition leader Luke Foley, until elections in September 2017. It's caused a ruction. It's made the whole notion of local government, some would say, very controversial, but other people would say very toxic, said Dr Grant. He predicted that it could lead to some voters rejecting the coalition. Despite the changes, a huge range of councils did go to the polls on Saturday, from Blacktown, once the largest authority in New South Wales with 300 residents, to tiny Brewarrina Shire which services just 1,700 locals. My word for tonight is Clovered definition: when a gerrymander backfires. #Team Clover, #New South Wales. Famous names including footy legend Ian Robertson, the former head of the Australian Medical Association, and frequent media commentator on health issues. Karen Phelps, a standing in Sydney. A famous face who wasn't up for election is property developer and former Auburn Deputy Mayor Salam Mayhaya. The entire Auburn Council was sacked by the government and an inquiry is currently underway into decisions made by councillors, as if to ensure Auburn could never return. The government then split the authority in two and divided it between its neighbouring councils. Other councils to watch included Liverpool, where a bitter battle has seen a number of likely candidates fall by the wayside, including former mayor and one-time rising Liberals star Ned Mannon, who was one of Australia's youngest mayors. Plans for an ice smoking room in the area were a hot topic. Meanwhile, in Blacktown, an infamous face is hoping for election success with the Liberals' James Diaz standing. You may remember the face because he's the chap who stood in the 2013 federal election, and when asked by a reporter what the coalition's six-point plan was to limit asylum seekers, he got stumped after one. But Dr Grant said in the end, local elections are often won or lost on local issues, so the machinations on Macquarie Street may have less of an effect than thought. Benedict.Brook@news.com.au